Thanks, Goose. Well, now it's time to bask in the divine glory of Divinity, Original Sin.
Good finish.
Since Diablo 3, we've been desperate to get our hands on a classic Baldur's Gate-like RPG. And apparently so has the rest of the internet, if the latest entry in the Divinity series is anything to go by. Original Sin received over $1 million in crowdfunding support. That's some healthy loot, Hex.
It certainly is. In this turn-based RPG from Belgian developer Larian Studios, you take control of a pair of adventurers who roam the world of Rivellon, dedicating their lives to ridding the world of a strange and dangerous energy source called, well, Source.
These Source Hunters, as they're known, are driven to the seaside settlement of Sicil, which has been plagued by orcs, the undead, and the mysterious death of a councillor.
May the luck of the gods be with you both, Source Hunters.
But who are these Source Hunters, you may ask? Well, that's up to you to decide.
I always spend a long time on character creation, Badger, but here there is a whole lot more at stake. This game draws a lot of inspiration from pen and paper RPGs throughout, but it's here that I noticed it the most.
Yeah, that spreadsheet of raw stats, combat abilities, and character perks is pretty intimidating.
Yes, settle in for a long and deep RPG.
The thing I struggled with the most were those traits. I found myself asking, should I pick the Animal Whisper perk because it is the coolest thing ever, or should I be more pragmatic? Obviously, I chose to whisper. Oh, hi, doggy.
I smell rotten lamb chops.
Yeah, it's tough. Plus, you need to go through the whole process twice because there are two main characters. It's a good idea to build characters which complement each other if you want a fighting chance out in Rivellon.
The world is a lot smaller than we've come to expect from modern RPGs, but it's all beautifully designed. Everything is logically connected, and each building, dungeon, and path feels like it has a purpose.
What's this?
Although you do spend a lot of the early game inside the walls of the city, and I think that might frustrate some.
Yeah, you start to feel a little bit trapped in there. It's slow going at the start, and the game doesn't hold your hand at all.
Looks like we have our work cut out for us.
At least we won't be bored.
A lot of the early quests require some Sherlock Holmes-style sleuth work, which will see you hunting for clues.
A book about setting up the perfect crime.
Esmeralda has interesting tastes in literature.
Along with interrogating half the town.
There's no quest markers, so you rely entirely on your wits and your own attention span to progress.
I'm not gonna lie. Choose some dialogue choices.
I wasn't paying attention to what you guys are talking about.
I'm just mesmerized by your beard.
So
Okay, I'm seeking adventures of every kind. Come on!
You're free to uncover these quest narratives in a non-linear way, and I really liked that as a design choice.
Ah, so that's what that did.
I don't know, I could have used a little bit more guidance, to be honest. There were points where the game left me feeling completely lost, running back and forth trying to find the next quest point.
I mustn't have used it correctly.
I had to use an online guide on a few occasions, which is fine, but it can get a bit tedious.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I did find this refreshing, though. It's a delicate balance between being spoon-fed and left out to dry, but Original Sin rides that line well. The whole game is meant to be slow, methodical, and challenging, which is wonderfully reflected in the game's combat.
Well, that's true enough. Fights are entirely turn-based, with each fighter having a certain amount of action points they can spend on movements and attacks per round.
Yes, this certainly isn't a fast-paced clickfest like Diablo 3.
this guy is gonna get a little zap.
Enemy encounters are far less frequent, but fights typically last between 6 to 10
Little
minutes.
zap.
Electric.
Little zap and a stun, and I'll just move a little closer, and yeah, and he died.
Even with this slow turn-based fighting, I found it easy to still become overwhelmed.
Yeah, the challenge is using the right abilities at the right time and then knowing when to save up those action points. There's also skill in just aiming. You can damage teammates or heal enemies if you're not careful.
I love this feature because it really makes you focus on a fight. This is tough and precise combat where one false move can end in disaster.
And there's so much depth to each battle. In nearly every fight, there are barrels of water, poison, or oil that can be broken in order to spill their contents in the battlefield. These can be set alight or electrified, completely changing the dynamics of the fight.
But they can be used against you too, so movement and placement of your characters becomes so important.
It's about to get a bit burny.
See, that's why you catch on fire, because you run through them. Maybe you shouldn't... Oh, nice boulder drop.
Well, I like to live dangerously.
Yeah, fair enough.
I thought all the animations and effects were great, particularly the elemental stuff. I loved eliminating enemy advantages by washing out fire with my rain ability.
Make it rain!
It's really clever gameplay, and more importantly, it makes you feel clever. And I like feeling clever, Hex.
Oh, I know.
Magical poison dart.
Yeah, bit of poison dart.
Immune to poison. I'm helping.
The party system lets you set formations which dictate where your group members position themselves at the start of fights. And when you're roaming around, you can ungroup to strategically approach a battle. Some dungeon puzzles even force you to split your group up. It's just such interesting design, Hex.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? At one point I was trying to avoid a battle with high-level enemies, so I just separated everyone, went into stealth mode and made a sneak train. Sneak train, choo-choo, choo-choo-choo. I just love these Python-esque disguises. They're so stupid, but I love them.
Yes, you're so well disguised under your gigantic bopping boulder. The stealth mechanic is fun though, as you dodge enemy cones of sight. And it's a good way to get the jump on them for an easier victory.
Enemies don't respawn, so there is a finite amount of XP on offer, and level ups are few and far between. You do get some XP from exploring, but to be fair, it's almost as dangerous as fighting.
Yeah, traps are everywhere, so save frequently. I was a little disappointed with the armor and weapon design. Even when I started to come across legendaries, there wasn't anything that really stood out. I just think if you're gonna have a legendary, it should have some pizzazz to it.
Yeah, I agree. Fashions. That said, there is a good item drop rate, so you'll change your gear pretty frequently to make sure you've got the stats to survive the next area. How are the conversations, though? I really enjoyed all the character interactions.
Yeah, me too. I just wish there was more spoken dialogue. The majority of conversation is text-driven, which I didn't mind too much. It's just that the dialogue that is there is really well delivered, and I wish all of it was recorded.
Ever hear about the time the captain took the Duchess of Ferrol's carriage for a joyride?
It does rely on the player getting really excited about the role-playing aspects of the game, which, I didn't have a problem with. You can get your characters into some heated arguments if you play their personalities against each other.
She's got to be put down. She could come to her vicious senses at any time. Let her live. If that potion were truly worthless, I wouldn't have been able to charm her in the first place. I say let her live.
Should we go for number 2, where she lives?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's on.
Yeah, the rock, paper, scissors minigame to resolve disagreements is fantastic.
Rock, paper, scissors.
It's more like rock, parchment, ye olde pecker snippers.
What are you choosing, Bajo?
I'm not gonna tell you what I'm choosing. See, now I think you're gonna go paper again because you think I'm gonna change to be paper, but then you know that I'm also thinking that, so I'm probably gonna go scissors. But then you know that I'm probably also thinking that, so you'll go rock.
Screw it. No! We are the same person.
Each victory gives you points based on your charisma, and the first person to accumulate 10 points wins. It's another great little mechanic.
Oh, the music is wonderful too. It's not classic fantasy, but it has an appropriately familiar yet otherworldly resonance to it all. And the ambient sound design is spectacular and just makes that world feel so alive.
Not in the mood for cheese? That excuse has more holes than a slice of this fine Gorgonbear.
Yeah, there are plenty of quirky characters to flesh out the story, and I just love it when a game like this doesn't take itself too seriously.
Mighty ocean, how I pine for thee.
You can tell how passionate the developers are about this project just by the sheer amount of detail. It's just so much gameplay freedom. In fact, the game encourages you to bend the rules.
Yeah, absolutely. At one point there was a locked fence blocking my progress, and I couldn't be bothered looking for a key, so I just did this. Problem solved.
Yes, I was introduced to your teleportation antics in co-op, which I think we can both agree was a lot of fun.
This is my favorite part of these games, when they create a really authentic world and all the people and the places seem real and there's like the little fish everywhere. What are you doing?
What happened there? What happened, Hex?
No! Stop teleporting me around the place.
Whoa.
It's disappointing that co-op doesn't give ring-ins any XP or progress.
Yeah, I think it's there to create an incentive for you to play through the game from start to finish with someone else.
Yeah, and I guess it does harken back again to pen and paper games where you would start as a group and then finish as a group, but then, you know, there's just no real benefit to jumping in and out of random games.
It can add a bit more tension though.
True.
This is a nice character you've created.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass.
He's got sick gear.
Particularly if you have an untrustworthy partner in control of one of your character's actions and, more importantly, your gear.
You want to see something funny? Do you want to go get this helmet?
Is that my helmet? Are you throwing my stuff over this road?
Is this painting of a woman important to you?
Don't you do it.
Ah, it's over the line.
Beautiful painting.
But when you have a good partner, it does mean more interesting combat strategies.
I did enjoy the bartering system too.
Yeah, it's so good that every NPC has little bits and pieces they want to trade. It's a nice touch, and I never found myself strapped for cash or goods.
Well, that's because you stole and fenced everything.
If you're gonna leave a pig painting just lying around, of course I'm gonna steal it and sell it. Simple as that.
Well, somebody's beloved pig painting.
Now someone else can love it.
My friend returns.
What are you giving it overall, Hex?
If I had to describe Original Sin in a word, it would be dense. I struggled with the pace at first, but after a few hours it had its hooks well and truly in. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
There are so many lovely touches in this game, which makes this self-professed old-school RPG feel right at home in 2014. And there's a ton of custom content on the way too, thanks to the super detailed campaign editor. So I think this is worth 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Let's go for a walk on the beach. I don't want to talk to him right now. Hey. This isn't productive.
How does it feel?
Is that like a superhero teabag?
You betcha.